Time now to look at data fabric architecture, in particular, how to better understand how we can simplify a diverse data ecosystem. We're very lucky to hear more about this topic from the Director of Data Analytics at Kitopi. It is the world's leading managed cloud kitchen platform. Please welcome to the stage Waseem Syed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me at the back? Okay, cool, amazing. So, buzzword, which is buzzing around for the whole year or maybe more than a year, data fabric. So, I was part of a discussion this morning where somebody from Confluence was saying that there should be a buzzword every year such that people get attracted to it and start it as a motivation that we need to do something every year. So, quick agenda. I'll go through a quick introduction, how did we start, and then what problems we started facing, and then what were the solutions that we came up with. So first thing, quick introduction. So I'm Waseem. I'm the director of data at Kitopi, so I take care of data engineering, which is both platforms and data warehouse projects. I take care of BI and analytics, which is both product analytics as well as business analytics. Data governance is something which we just started. We are taking the baby steps towards it, which I think is the right time to start even before we grow bigger. Robotic process automation, not really a data thing, but it works closely with data engineering to solve a lot of business problems. I also train a lot of business teams as that they do their own self-BI because it's really important for business to try and answer their own questions instead of struggling to ask them in the technical words to the data teams. Scaling up the team, so this is really a humongous task for the startups, especially where people don't know the company names, they don't trust whether the company will be a success, and they get scared the moment they listen like, oh, it's a startup, they're going to suck your blood to the last drop and all. So it becomes really hard to attract the talent. It's not just scaling up the team, but you bring technically cool people, people who feel ownership and not just work because they have to work. Previously, I worked with companies like GE, helping them in the supply chain analytics, and Citibank and Majid Al Futtaim when it comes to the finance space, and Kitopi is a food business. So Kitopi is a young business which was started in 2018. It started as a ghost kitchen or a cloud kitchens, and then it was initially launched in 3 cities, Dubai, London, and New York, and later we had to shut London and New York operations because of COVID. Then we scaled into Saudi, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar. So as we speak, we have around 200 restaurants which have brands which have partnered with us, and we have more than 200 kitchens that we're operating. So all of these 200 kitchens are cloud kitchens, ghost kitchens, back of the house, and at least 70 to 80 of them are front of the house. And the next strategy for Kitopi is they are partnered and invest with F&B brands, whoever want to scale across borders. So if you guys are more interested to know about how this business model works, please visit to the Kitopi's website. It explains how it works. It's really an interesting model where you people might be wondering how does it even work, and you will think that if I have to ask any restaurant like, would you share your recipe? How many of you would say yes? 0. Okay, one generous person or one visionary who would say yes. Why would they say yes? Because they have a vision to scale faster and larger. Right? So imagine if you have a restaurant in Dubai, if you want to set up a restaurant in Kuwait, you have to do a lot of background work, brick and mortar, and people, technology, everything. And imagine after investing so much of CapEx, failing. Right? So Kitopi brings in the power of scaling. So now, how did we start our data journey, actually? Right? So for any business, what is the bread and butter? Can we see our revenue? Very first thing, they don't even talk about efficiency and all of those things, basics. There are several organizations who underreport their revenue because they have lack of visibility. There are several organizations who report revenue almost after 15, 20 days of month closing because a lot of processes are manual. They have to collect the data from multiple places, validate it and all. So the moment business started asking us, like, can we see our top line? Then we as a data team, the team was really small. So I have mentioned it here, not sure if you guys can see. So we started with 1 analyst, 1 engineering, and we had to borrow a DevOps guy to set up the infrastructure. So we went with a really lightweight implementation of having Kafka for all the real-time streaming, and then connecting to APIs and microservices, try to bring the data, and then Snowflake, amazing. You guys have seen its capabilities in 2 sessions this morning. So we tried to build a data warehouse on Snowflake, and then we used DBT, a really lightweight transformation tool, and We cannot compromise on auditability and code restoration if we mess up with any kind of change request. So we went with GitLab, CI/CD, and then cron job to start with because it is really easy to start with. Now that we have this much of infrastructure, which is good enough for a lot of companies. There are companies which have lived in the market for more than 10 years, but still they're happy with this kind of infrastructure because it is serving their basic purposes. Now, with a great confidence, went to the business and asked, we have an amazing infrastructure. Can we do more? We can do more analytics. Did it stop working? What else do you want? The moment you go to business and ask, like, what else do you want? They're so generous, right? Many of you wouldn't even ask this question to your business, being scared that the moment I ask, what can I do for you, they will just bombard you, similar to how I got bombarded. So if you just look at the number of requests that I received from the business, it's crazy. Can I see my opportunity loss because items are going out of stock, drivers are not available, blah, 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 whatever. What is my kitchen throughput? How many orders are going out of a kitchen, and how many commies are cooking how much of food in how many hours? Then how much time is the driver waiting? We're trying to optimize that the food, once cooked, should not wait for the driver, and the driver should not wait for the cook as well, the food as well. So we're trying to optimize that 2-minute window as well. And then delivery time, ratings, discounts, driver wait time, perfect order rate, amazing. So how many orders are meeting the escalation? What is a perfect order rate, right? So we have been talking about customer experience. What is a customer experience here when it comes to food business? You want as little choice as possible so that you order it faster. The moment you order, so even when you order, you want to see the picture. How you see the picture is how you want to receive the food. Right? And the picture should explain a lot of things like this has these ingredients, this is how we cook it, and whether it is halal, it does not contain halal products, or whether it contains alcoholic products or not, whether it contains nuts which are allergic and all. So imagine having a very good menu, then you order the food. In the background, there are hundreds of people who work hard to deliver food to you in like 30, 35 minutes. North Star, right? And then contact rate. How many orders do we fulfill where the customer wouldn't call us? Amazon says that a perfect order for them is where the customer doesn't talk to them. Even for Kitopi, for us, the North Star is the customer shouldn't call us at all. Anyways, so now, with these number of requests, actually when I go back to these requests, Kitopi is on the flip side of where a lot of organizations are. A lot of companies suffer with the situation that they have a lot of data, they don't know what to do. At Kitopi, we are suffering the other way. We are lacking data, but business wants to do a lot of things. All of these requests that we have received, we had data not even for 10% of them, right? With that, we had COVID and a lot of pressure on the business because it was a startup. It was just Series B that we went through. Series C is something which says whether a business is successful or not. The business wanted the data very fast and accurate as well. Now, with the same infrastructure, I just increased the team size with 6 analysts, 2 engineers, and still continuing that borrowed DevOps guy. And we started adding the data sources, microservices, and Jira, Dynamics for ERP, and a lot of offline sources because we want to deliver solution faster and later work on improvising the backend process. So business wants to see numbers. They don't care how you're solving it. So we try to solve it the MVP way, and then we work on standardizing it. With the same infrastructure, we started adding a lot of data sources and started adding value to the business using Looker. Problem started. So it is the same old car, and you're using it for almost like everything at your household. Problem started as we started growing, so which brings me to my third agenda item of problems. Only a few, to be honest. If I start writing the problems that we started facing, I wouldn't finish it by evening. So too many sources, so we started collecting data from a lot of sources, and these sources increased exponentially because recently after our Series C funding, we started acquiring a lot of businesses. Each acquisition is like a humongous task. Everybody has separate ERP, separate POS systems, their financial systems are different. How do you integrate to such sources and bring the data as fast as possible, and how do you validate the data? Sensitive data, we started collecting customer data, we have people information, we have financial information. We are in multiple countries, and Saudi has its data protection law, UAE has data protection law, and if you are in DIFC, it's a different type of law that you come under. Then quality issues, which everybody has. Disjoint data sets. We are bringing data and just keeping it everywhere, and oh, this is the data, I can add value with this data. Now, these data sets are not talking to one another to bring bigger value of a central data warehouse. KPI definition inconsistencies. Somebody says, this is the kitchen time. Somebody else comes and says, I measure it this way. Somebody says, this is my gross profit. Somebody says, this is my gross profit. Kitchen say that this is my profitability. Finance says that this is my profitability. So that was another challenge. Redundant reporting. Oh my God. We started doing data democratization, where we gave access to people and trained them how to do their own data exploration. But they went one step ahead and started building dashboards on their own. I cleaned the dashboard twice in the past, but still, we are running at a rate of 500 plus dashboards, which are prevalent. There is no way that anybody is going to clean this up. I'll tell you what we have done. So the reports obviously will grow slow because these were not built by the experts. They were built by the business personnel. Access to data beyond responsibilities. Because Kitopi is a startup, they changed the organization structure so fast that they have to adapt to the market changes. So somebody working today in the growth team, tomorrow they start working in the strategy team. Somebody working in the supply chain, all of a sudden ended up in a finance. So people started having access to the data beyond their responsibilities. Now, when we looked at all of these issues, we understood that these are not tactical problems which we need to solve with a stunt or just as a quick gap solution. These were all strategic problems. We were so engrossed in the rat race that we kept tending to the business needs and started adding value to them as fast as we can that we forgot sustainability and scalability. We had to take a step back, write down all of our problems, and then we categorized all of our problems into three main areas. One, data access. How do we bring and how do we give it to others, and how do we make it accessible to people? Data management. In another language, information management or data governance. Data democratization. We will still continue to democratize data, and we are not going to compromise on empowering the business to answer their own questions. Now, comes to the solution part. So we have come up with a lot of solutions which are already in place. A few solutions we are still working on, few are in the roadmap and all. This is not a great view, so I'll take you through each of those solutions that we have built. Now, as we kept solving these problems, our infrastructure grew in terms of the tech stack and also the efficiency and scalability that we have. A lot of things that we have added to our infrastructure, we did a lot of research on each of the problems we had, and then we started adding the solutions to it rather than finding, oh, somebody is using SageMaker, I want to use it. Somebody said Looker is an amazing tool, I want to use it. Great Expectations, everybody says Great Expectations is a really good tool for data quality, let's use it. We took the other way. We started identifying our problems like I showed in the previous slide, and then we were like, oh, this problem, what are the best things that will help us out of these problems faster and in a scalable manner? So as we kept solving these problems, my team size grew to like 42 in no time. So we built up a team in 8 to 12 months to 42 from a team of 6. So I have 20 analysts, BI engineers, 10 data engineers, and 5 RP engineers, and 2 data governance. I know data governance is really small, but we want to scale it in a sensible manner and not just bring people and then think what to do. Now, as we navigated through each implementation, which is the data fabric, which brings to the main topic of discussion, data fabric. It is not about tools or it is not about architecture, it's a framework. It's an architectural framework that helps to scale us in all 3 fronts that we have categorized our problems. So how does the data fabric look like? Now, all of my data sources, they remain the same. I have a lot of data on the databases on all 3 clouds, and then some data comes from email, something on Google Sheets and all. And we have on-premise data, we have APIs, which are helping us with the data. We also have few webhooks and a lot of other sources as well. I have categorized our problems into 3 verticals, right? So data access, data management, and then data democratization. First thing, data access. What do we do? The moment some data comes or we start bringing the data, we need to catalog it, understand the data, ask the questions like, who asked for it? Who is the owner of it? Why have they even asked you to bring the data? How long are you keeping the data? What business problems are you going to solve with it? All of those things. Orchestration. really important. So we moved from cron jobs as we started growing big, and we started introducing Airflow. And Airflow is not just an orchestration. It is much more than that. The moment you start leveraging it, it shows the power. Data products and sandbox. This is the game changer for us. So we did not just solve for ingesting the data from multiple sources. We solved for the data engineers and the data analysts. So what did we do? We have built a sandbox where we can experiment faster. No merge requests, no code reviews, nothing. Do your experiments as fast as you can and prove the POCs that, okay, this is the right tool for us. Once we decide on that in our sandbox environment, we build it as a data product. How do we build it as a data product? If I have to take that data product, go somewhere and sell it as a standalone solution, I should be able to sell it. So the data product should have a problem statement. It should have a vision, and it should solve for that vision. And we don't try to pollute it by, one size fits all, right? So if we build a data product, we build it for certain solution. Example, so we build a data product for solving for APIs. Next time, whenever we have to bring data from any kind of API, we don't code. We use that, we configure, and it helps us to just finish it. So development time reduced by less than 30%. BI Playground, a really important thing for the data analysts who bring the data from. So the moment the data comes to the data lake, we don't even work on transforming the data, cleaning it, star schema, anything. We don't do anything. The moment it comes to the data lake, on the BI Playground, the data analysts can play with that raw data, come to the conclusions, what they can solve, and then tell the engineers, like, this is how the data should look like. It becomes so easy for the data engineers that they build it in that manner for the data analysts. Data sharing, so we don't just bring the data, we give the data to several companies as well. So we have built API layers and few other tools in-house which will help us to share the data with businesses. Central business logic. We have heard a lot of times, like, what is single source of truth? Few people say that my data warehouse is a single source of truth. Few people say that, okay, I bring everything into one place, my data lake is the single source of truth. We slightly change the approach, we define it. So to us, single source of truth is our transformation. You bring the data, you define all the business logics in your transformation. So to me, my transformation is the hardest part. We define it in such a way that all the business logic sits in the transformation. It becomes easy. I don't care what database I use or what source or what destination. To me, all the business logic sits in one place. Nobody else defines the business logic. That is the single source of truth for us. Next concept, data management. Most of these are data governance things that we are going to discuss. Information lifecycle management. Where are you bringing it from? How many times are you going to bring it? How long are you going to store the data? When we bring the data, we never talk about the retention policy. If you bring something, how long are you going to keep it? Is this data going to comply with the regulatories and all of those things? Data owners and stewards, really a big topic which I can speak for almost like a half a day. It is really important we define data owners and stewards. We don't define this because data governance says data stewardship is a standard thing to have, but we started from the problems. Who owns the KPIs, right? Who owns the data quality? If there is a KPI, somebody has to say that this is the definition of that KPI, who that person is. We can say that, yeah, Waseem knows it, yeah, Ali and Yunus knows it. Instead, if I define it as a job role, saying that you are a data steward, you take care of the data quality, you take care of all the assets that come out of that application, and you also take care who should have access. A finance guy comes and asks, like, can I have access to supply chain data? Do I give it, right? So they should say, like, who should have access to what? KPI ownership, they will define what the definition of a KPI should be. Business glossary, a lot of places we miss this. One, we define the business glossary. Two, where is it available? We need to find good solutions where even the kitchen commie has access to, like, what is the definition of this? A call center agent should have access to, like, what is the definition of this? Where do I find it? If it is not there, how do I request for it, right? Then data protection, compliance, these two are heavily independent topics which are self-explanatory. Master data management. So we bring a lot of data, we keep them. So a few times we say that, yeah, revenue is duplicated, we need to clean it. Building master data for customer, for revenue, for your SKUs, for your product, for your menu, for your brands, for your kitchens, whatnot. The final topic is data democratization. I'm running out of time. Report rationalization, 500 reports. We are trying to bring it down to like 30 or 40 reports. Build them in a manner such that they solve problems and not just giving information. Meaning what? We handcraft the dashboards. We take almost like weeks to plan how the dashboard should look like and then build it such that we don't encourage any changes in the future. Data warehouse re-engineering. live reporting, data scientists, data analysts, everybody hits the same data cluster. We just split it into golden and silver clusters, as that golden cluster has all your live data, silver cluster has 1-day lag. Data scientists and analysts don't need live data to analyze, so they use the silver cluster. Reporting, business monitoring needs live data, so that hits your golden cluster. So we try to balance the load on our warehouse, semantic layer. No matter how good of a BI tool you have to engineer the data which is underlying. Many tools say that you need not do the data aggregation because it can directly connect to your transactional data and the reports are faster. Nobody shows you these reports, or nobody does a POC on these tools with millions of records. Nobody. If they do that, they will expose that point saying that any tool can run faster on millions of records, while half of the business logic sits in your reports. You create calculated fields, you create derived variables and all of those things. So semantic layer is one thing. KPI glossary, it again falls into this one. Reporting hierarchy. So we don't just build reports. We try to structure them. We put them in such a way that there are strategic dashboards, which are for like high-level KPIs, long run, long vision, and all of those, senior management. Then we have operational dashboards, which are specific for each department, operations, supply chain, growth. So what do you need on a day-to-day basis to solve your problem? So we structure the dashboards in that way. Tactical dashboards. So these are dashboards which live only for like a week to 2 to 3 months. This is required for your OKR tracking or campaign tracking or anything. You just introduced the initiative. You want to track how it does. For that, you need a dashboard which lives only for like a week to a month. So we build it in the tactical section such that once it is done, we delete it from there. The last thing is analytical dashboards. These are not dashboards which we build on Looker or Superset, but these are dashboards which are like storytelling using data. We use either Jupyter Notebooks or PowerPoint's presentation where we bring a lot of data, we analyze, and we build a story on top of it. So that is what I meant by reporting hierarchy. MLOps platform is something which we have introduced. BI trainings we continue to do. And self-BI tools, so Looker and Superset are very well equipped for the business users to do self-BI. The last and very powerful thing that I have introduced is community of analytics practice. With this, I'm closing my presentation. So this is a North Star for us, where if we achieve this, nothing like that. What does this mean? So we are building communities within Kitopi of analytics practice. Business people and data people put together, we form a community. We don't discuss about the problems. We just start exploring what we can do with the data we have. We just go start digging. We don't have a problem statement. We don't have an agenda. We just come across a lot of things, and we're like, do you know this? Do you know this? This has happened. Do you even realize? A lot of things that we unearth by doing the research. So community of analytics practice is something which we're looking for when it comes to our North Star. So this is what I had. So this is not the end of the data fabric, but there are a lot of things like knowledge graphs and using machine learning algorithms to simplify this space of data access. But that is the next step for us. It's about setting the basics right. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I know I'm out of time, but I'm available here. If anybody has questions, I'll be happy to answer all of those. Thank you so much for being patient.